Hello everyone, welcome back to the another virtual class of political science. I have already completed the entire syllabus of political science for the session 2020-21 and it is there in my channel. So you can visit my channel and go through all those videos in detail. Okay, so today I'm going to make a very small video on the topic judicial activism and judicial restraint, which is going to be very short. So I hope you'll watch this video till the end. So let's start our today's class. So judicial activism and judicial restraint, these two terms are very important from the point of political science students, and they are almost confused what actually is meant by judicial activism and judicial restraint. Okay, so when these students study about law and all, they discuss and they study all this in detail. But for the students of class 12, this is just for a short question which will be asked in the board exam. What is the difference between judicial activism and judicial restraint? Though I'm going to explain you clearly. Okay, I'll try my best to explain you clearly what actually judicial activism means. So judicial activism, okay, what is mean by judicial activism? Judicial activism means a proactive, very active approach of judiciary. The judiciary has become very active. The approach of judiciary has become very active towards prevailing socio-economic, politico-administrative conditions in the country. Social conditions, economic conditions, political conditions, administrative conditions are checked by judiciary. If the government fails to do so, if the executive fails to discharge their duties properly, then judiciary becomes very active. Okay, and it is a judiciary which reminds the executive to perform their duties properly, because they are elected by the people. So it is the duty of the executive to discharge their duties for the nation. Okay, so judiciary reminds them, and if they don't do properly, they are even warned, even they are dragged to the courts. Okay. So the approach of judiciary became very effective since the days of emergency. Okay, so when there was a national emergency in the country, when the powers of the Lok Sabha was misused by that government, that was Indira Gandhi's government. Okay, and that day is regarded as a black day in the country. She, in order to safeguard her position, imposed emergency throughout the country. That means she misused the power. Okay, so in order to bring some certain changes within the constitution, amendment also took place, and after 1975 onward, my dear, the era of emergency, when it ended, then the judiciary became very active. The question arises over here: when there is no government active, when there is no government to look after the country, then who is there to look after our country? At that time, judiciary will become active. They will frame policies, they will make laws on behalf of the legislature, because legislature is a hung legislature, or there is no legislature at all. Okay, so in that case, the third organ becomes very important, and they play a very important role. That is why in the recent times, the active role of judiciary has increased many folds. Okay, like judiciary has become very active in reminding the government servants. Okay, reminding the government servants to do their duties properly. Okay, then even they are warning the officials to look after the environmental pollutions and all. Okay, then even illegal constructions going on somewhere on the roadside, encroachment is taking place on the road, judiciary takes a very important role in stopping all those encroachments and all. Okay, then even like the most important method of judicial activism is that PIL, public interest litigation. Suppose, for example, there is a park, and that park is occupied illegally by one leader. Then where will the people go? The people definitely can file a PIL in the court in order to protect that public property. That is the work of the judiciary. So whenever anything goes against the people, if the fundamental rights of the people are infringed, then definitely government comes forward to protect their right. That is their duty. It is mentioned in the constitution also. But judicial activism, the role of judiciary has increased nowadays, my dear. apart from doing their regular job, they are showing active role in socio-economic dimensions of our country, okay, and administrative conditions in the country. Like for example, laws are passed in the legislature, but you can see here it also comes under judicial activism, that judicial review can be done by the Supreme Court. Laws are passed in the legislature, Lok Sabha passed the law. Okay, after passing through different phases, president signed the bill, it became an act. Now if that act is against the basic structure of the constitution, and if any of the people, okay, a group of people files a litigation, files a PIL, or files a check over the act, that definitely Supreme Court is bound to look after the act. So Supreme Court will go through a judicial review. That judicial review also comes under judicial activism, the active role of judiciary, looking after the law. Actually, law is passed by the legislature. There should not be anything to be done by the judiciary, because legislature, executive is completely separated from judiciary. Then still, the last hope of the people is judiciary. If the elected representatives are not listening, they are not formulating policies for the nation or for the development of the country, then definitely judiciary has to become active. So that active role played by judiciary is termed as a judicial activism. Like we have heard, no, social activism, okay, the active role by the society. So same way, judiciary also has become very, very active in the country. And that is very, very good for our nation, that whenever something goes wrong, if the executives are doing something beyond their power, then definitely judiciary is there to stop them. So the last hope for the people of the country is judiciary, right? If the legislature, laws passed by the legislature is something against the basic structure of our constitution, then definitely where will the people go? Where will the people knock the door? So definitely judiciary is there. So judiciary will definitely look after the matter. Okay, so PIL, public interest litigation, if that case filed by the people is in favor of all the people, suppose I alone cannot file a PIL. So if it is the matter of, if it is in the case of entire people of the society or certain area, then definitely a PIL can be filed, and that will be heard by the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court definitely will look into the matter and will declare its judgment. So that will protect. That's like in the case I give you the example of there is one public park. Public park is for the people, and that public park is occupied by a group of person or any of the leader or any of the dada something type of people, then definitely who is going to protect it? Then definitely people will file up in PIL, and judiciary will look into the matter and they'll try to protect that property. So that is the active role of judiciary. Judiciary has now become very, very active in its approach. So that is why it is known as judicial activism, means the proactive role of judiciary. Proactive role of judiciary. Okay, now the next term is judicial restraint, is just opposite to judicial activism. So here judiciary is very, very active. So here certain restrictions. So judicial restraint encourages the judiciary, okay, it encourages the judiciary to limit the exercise of their own power. So there should be certain restrictions on their own power. They should not cross that one. So though that is my job, but still I must be very, very careful. Like sometime the acts comes for a judicial review, so they must try as much as possible not to strike down the law until and unless necessary, until and unless required. Okay, so because laws are passed after several debates and discussions, okay, so a lot of days and times are required in order to pass a law, and after getting it passed, then if it comes for judicial review, then definitely Supreme Court must think that I must restrict my power to strike the law until unless not required. until and unless not required. If it is against the basic structure of the constitution, then only the law should be removed, or it should be declared as null and void, like judicial review. What is judicial review? Judicial review means laws are passed in legislature, but if it is asked in the court that there is certain thing which is not as per the constitution, laws are checked by the Supreme Court whether it is as per the constitution or not, whether it is as per the basic structure of the constitution or not. So if it is not as per the basic structure of the constitution, then definitely it will be declared as null and void, not the entire law. If the whole law is challenged, then definitely the entire law will be checked. If a part of the law is challenged, then definitely the part of the law will be challenged. If it is against, will be removed. Okay, and if the entire law is not as per the constitution, then definitely it will be declared as null and void. That is judicial review. So, like, what is my power? What is the power of judiciary? They must think to restrict its power. So they must encourage themselves to restrict its power, not to encroach in the legislative work of the legislature. Let legislature do its work, let executive do its work, let judiciary do its own work. So they must not encroach. That is why there is a separation of power theory. Legislature, executive, judiciary, three separate organs. They have three separate roles to play. So judiciary must not encroach on the working of legislature until unless required. So that is judicial restraint. So it is mentioned over here. Judicial restraint, restrictions, encourages to judiciary. Judiciary is encouraged to limit the exercise of its own power. That is known as judicial restraint. So here the proactive role, here certain restraint is there, right? So it is up to judiciary. If it is for the society, if it is for the country, if the policies are not being made properly by the government, then definitely judiciary has to come up. Judiciary has to do its work, because it is for the development of the nation. Okay, so that is in certain cases when executive does not do its work properly, or legislature passed a law which is not beneficial for the people of the country, then definitely judiciary is the only last option for the people to knock, right? So this is all about judicial activism and judicial restraint. So hope you all have understood it. I have tried a bit to explain you about judicial activism and judicial. Lastly, once again, what is judicial activism? The proactive approach of judiciary. Proactive approach. Just remember, proactive approach. The active approach of judiciary. And here judicial restraint means to restrain or to limit its own power. Limit its own power. Okay, I have my power to look after the judicial review, but I must try to avoid that until unless required. So this is all about judicial restraint and judicial activism. So hope you all have understood it. Okay, so this is all about from today's class. So take care, stay safe, bye bye.